All right, let's get into this week's story. Last week we talked about me going on a date with a set of twins and then switching in and out on the date when in reality the trick was on one of the twins. This week we're going to talk about me trolling more girls. So this story takes place at Utah State again. Most of my stories do. It was just a time in my life where I loved being stupid and doing stupid things. For this story, if any of you have ever been to the Spectrum, which is the basketball arena of Utah State, and experienced the energy in the Spectrum during a basketball game, it is awesome. The Spectrum has been on ESPN multiple times for being one of the best home crowds in the nation, and especially when it's a big time, either an in-state rivalry or a big conference game, it is insane. To give you an idea of kind of the craziness that goes on inside the Spectrum, there's a group of students dedicated to basically researching as much dirt as they can on the opposing player. This group of students that do this, they're called the Refraction. And in the week leading up to each game, they do as much detective work as they can on the other team. They look at all their social media profiles, just everything they can, and they look and see if the other players have any DUIs, jail time, anything they can find, and they compile it all onto this little half sheet of paper that they then pass out to the entire student section before every game. And on this half sheet of paper, not only is it the information that they found, but also what cheers and chants they're going to do for each player, and this group of students that leads these chants throughout the game. So everyone is always on the same page. It gets really crazy and really rowdy. So for this particular story, it takes place during an in-state rivalry game. It was Utah State versus Weber State. I grew up in kind of the North Ogden area of Utah, and so we had a lot of friends that were coming up to watch the game. We had a lot of friends who attended Weber State. And when the game was going on, I believe it was when Damian Lillard was playing for Weber State. I don't know if he played in that game. He may have been injured this year. During the second half, college basketball does what they call a media timeout, just so that the players can have a rest and so that the sponsors can run some advertisements. So during the media timeout, it was always standard for the Utah State Aggiettes or the dance team or whatever to come out and perform. During this particular performance, I kind of stole the spotlight from the Aggiettes, not on purpose, but to kind of set the scene. Every year, Utah State and most universities come out with a new game day shirt that you're supposed to wear to the games. For this particular game, I did not have my game day shirt on. I couldn't find it. So I'm in this sea of Aggie blue, and I'm wearing like this sky blue V-neck shirt. I tried to at least wear something blue, but I stood out, and I'm a large person anyway, so I stood out even without the shirt. And so during this media timeout, the announcer comes over the speakers and he says, "Everyone, please welcome to the court your Aggiettes." So everyone sits down to watch the Aggiettes perform. And I can't remember what music was being played, but I liked the music, so I stayed up and I started dancing. And as I danced, I was kind of pointing at the Aggiettes and trying to get their attention because I was a stupid college student and they were pretty girls dancing on the floor, so I was trying to get their attention. Eventually, in the middle of the dance, I dropped it like it was hot. And I did a little booty drop in my chair while I was standing up, gave everyone behind me a show because that's where my backside was facing. And when I did that, everyone behind me just went nuts. They went crazy. And when that happened, you could visibly see like every head in the Spectrum just like immediately turn towards the direction that all the cheering was coming from. And you know, I could see it, I could sense it. And I mean, I'm not an animal. I'm not about to disappoint 10,000 screaming fans. And so I kept going. I kept dancing. I kept pointing at the Aggiettes, and they could kind of tell what was going on. So some of them were laughing and smiling, and I was just like, man, I'm the man. I've got this whole crowd eating out of the palm of my hands. As the song finishes, I drop it again, do a little booty drop in my chair. I get a standing ovation from the entire crowd in the Spectrum. I was getting text messages from people around the arena, girls proposing to me, friends who had come up from Ogden to watch the game, you know, just people saying how funny it was. And I felt like a pretty big deal at that moment in time, to be honest. And it felt pretty good. So anyway, after the game, And that was it. There wasn't really anything after that other than just people coming up to me afterwards saying how funny they thought it was. So after the game, at the house that I was living in with my roommates, we invited some friends from Ogden that had come up over, and we had this little get together. I guess you could call it a party. While we are at this get together, this is a Friday night, I didn't have a smartphone, so I must have seen it on my laptop, but I get a friend request from the head Aggiette. And I just think, I show my friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, I am the man. The head Aggiette wants to be my friend. So anyway, I accept her friendship, obviously, and nothing happens after that. So fast forward to the end of the weekend. That was a Friday night. Monday morning, I have a message from this girl, this head Aggiette. And I'm telling my roommates, I'm like, guys, look at this. Not only did she add me, she's reaching out to me like I am the man. And then this is what the first line of her message to me said, and I still remember it clear as day. I might even still have it on my Facebook messages somewhere, but it said, hey Andy, my name is so-and-so. I won't say her name, but my name is so-and-so, and I saw you dancing on Friday, and even though I thought it was kind of funny, I just think you should know that you are an a-hole. And so, as you can imagine, that was not what I was expecting at all, because like I said, when I was dancing, the Aggiettes were kind of laughing and smiling, and I thought they were enjoying it just as much as I was and as the rest of the crowd was. She goes on in this message to say how they get up early and practice hard every morning to look good for the crowd. And initially my response to that was, well, I don't practice at all. And I still got more attention than you did. And so that was my initial reaction. She continued on, we put in all this hard at work, and you just made a mockery of it, basically is what she said. You made a mockery of us, you made us look stupid, which was not my intention at all. I was just trying to have a good time. What I wrote back to her, and I had all these ideas going through my head because I was kind of annoyed that she was so rude to me from the get-go when I didn't mean any harm by what I had done. I had a friend who wrote for the school newspaper, so I thought about just copying and pasting that message and sending it to her and letting her do what she wanted with it. And I decided not to. So what I did, I reached back out to her and I said, hey, I'm sorry that that's how it came off. I didn't mean for it to ruffle any feathers. I was just trying to have fun. I noticed that some of you were laughing and smiling during the performance, so I thought you guys were having a fun time with it as well. And I tried to defuse the situation a little bit, but I was also taking little jabs where I would say, I would say, I understand where you're coming from because I am on the Utah State men's club volleyball team. And we get up early every morning to practice as well, except for we don't have any choice because we are the last stop. We are the bottom man on the totem pole for gym time. So we have to practice at 5:30. And I said, and we don't get our school paid for like you do. I basically mentioned how we do everything that they do as far as the time and all that, except for no one even knows that we exist and we don't get our school paid for. So she actually has it better than we do as the Utah State men's club volleyball team. That was me just kind of poking the bear a little bit. I don't even know if she noticed that. And then the next thing I said was, this is kind of a backstory to this. Probably about a year prior to this, I used to work at Maddox, and it's a steakhouse in Perry, Utah, next to Brigham City that's mostly known for their fried chicken, but they're a really well-known restaurant. And I used to work at Maddox, and one night I remember she and her family came in, and the only reason I knew who she was because she was a cheerleader at Aggiette at the time, and so she was always in front of the crowd. I knew who she was. She came in with her family. While they were leaving, as they were getting ready to leave, they were taking a family picture. They just happened to be taking the family picture right next to where I was putting in an order. And so when they took the family picture, I jumped in back behind the family and photobombed their picture. About 2 weeks after that, I was hanging out with one of my buddies, Chris, and he told me, he said, hey, I was looking at some photos on my friend's Facebook account, and there's a picture of her and her family, and the caption of the picture says, who's that creeper in the background? And then he says, and I looked up into the picture, and it was you. You were the creeper in the background. And so in this message I'm sending to this girl on Facebook a year later, I bring that up. I say, hey, this makes me wonder how long you've hated me, because, and I bring up the whole Maddox photobomb thing, and she responds with, that was you, and she actually took it kind of nice. She laughed about it, but we actually had a back and forth where, like I mentioned, it got diffused a little bit and things were good, but because I'm an idiot and can't handle just letting things be, the last thing I said to her was, hey, sorry about all this. Maybe just for future reference, don't cuss people out the first time you meet them. I shouldn't have said that, but her response to that was, got it, don't talk to me like you're my dad, bye. And so that was the last time we ever communicated with each other. It wasn't our last interaction, the last time we ever communicated with each other. Every time I saw her in the halls of the TSC or whatever at Utah State, I would go out of my way to be a jerk. I wasn't a jerk. I would go out of my way to be annoying. Every time I'd pass her, I'd wave at her and be like, hey, it's me. It's me, Andy. You remember me? Anyway, she didn't like that very much. And I also made it a point that from that day forward, I danced at every single Utah State game, really for, I think, the remainder of my time up at Utah State. And it became a thing where I would go to restaurants like Cafe Rio or somewhere in Logan, and people would stop me and be like, hey, are you the guy who dances at the Utah State games? I'd be like, yes, I am. Tell the head Aggiette I said hello. So it's kind of like I kind of became known for it for a little bit. I know now that I got some mixed reviews from the community up in Logan. Some people loved it, some people didn't. Some people thought it was really annoying and disrespectful, which I guess that's part of just being a college student, is learning to read situations and learning how to be a better adult. It was a fun time, and we actually ended up meeting a lot of people because of it. I had a picture from that night, actually. The local newspaper snapped a picture of it, and if I can figure out how to post it on the podcast, I'll put a picture below to check it out. This was me 50 pounds ago when I was a lot more in shape, but that was the deal. That's it for this week. Tune in next week, and I'll talk to you later.